Today's topic is Introduction to Safety Automation Builder as a Safety Tool, and the presenter is Roscoe Mazer. Roscoe is a safety automation specialist at Revere Electric. He works alongside the larger automation team at Revere, several of whom are also safety specialists. Roscoe brings a broad range background to safety and automation expertise and applications, working with customers daily as they work through applications and safety solutions. He will be providing a brief overview of the foundation used to determine a safe machine. Roscoe will introduce the SAB and then provide a few examples of how the program works. With that, we'll turn it over to Roscoe.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Good morning, everybody. And like Jim said, we're glad that you were able to join us for our introduction to Safety Automation Builder. And I'll just get started if we're ready. So the first thing I want to point out is that when you try to design a system, a safe system for a machine, there are a lot of steps that need to be considered. And it can be a complex and drawn out process. A lot of customers kind of struggle with that. Each step should be documented, to prove compliance and alignment with standards. And that's why Rockwell's created a suite of tools to help customers streamline their efforts. I just want to do a quick overview of the safety lifecycle, because I think we should first understand the foundation that makes up a safety system. And the safety lifecycle helps us with that. First, a platform. We need to perform a hazard or risk assessment and identify the hazards and estimate the associated risks. Risk assessments determine the required performance level for each safety function, and there's a procedure for selecting a hazard level. In the most simple terms, trying to decide this, I guess the easiest way to look at it is, will this hazard cause a bruise, a break, an amputation, or even worse? There are tools to help with this also. And stopping right here just for a second, I'm sure there's going to be some questions on how do we determine risks and performance levels. And for that, Rockwell has a booklet that gives us a good description of what is required. The Machinery Safe Book 5 is available. It's a free book that Rockwell has published, kind of walks you through everything, and that'll be available as a download, and you'll be able to. We'll get to that later on in the seminar. Next, we want to determine the functional requirements. Evaluate safeguarding options based on industry acceptable solutions, and select mitigation techniques. First of all, how often do you need to access the hazard points? And then who needs access and how often? Operators, maintenance, housekeeping, people loading raw materials, that all has to be factored in. Then we want to select components, design and verify the system. We want to design the system architecture, document the safety circuit design, and procure the materials. Once the components have been selected, installed, and validated, we need to validate the system, verify that systems are operating within the design parameters and applicable standards have been satisfied. It also needs to be documented that the verification actually happened. And then finally, step 5, maintain and improve the system. Verify that the system requirements operate within the parameters for production and safety, preventive maintenance, and system upgrades. You will operate as normal, maintain the system as you had planned, and improve or modify the system as new issues are uncovered, or procedures or requirements change within the system. So there are a number of tools that Rockwell has available. Risk assessment or hazard assessment with the assistance of Revere and Rockwell services. You can do verification with RASWIN, which is a risk assessment software tool for SISTEMA verification. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. and pre-engineered safety functions to assist in laying out a zone or a system. There'll also be a list of links to download at the end of the presentation. You'll get that as a download. I think Jim's already put that available for you to download this PowerPoint. And one of the sheets towards the end has all of the links that you'll need. We'll go over those again when we get there.
Yeah, Roscoe, I do. I had those links are in that clip icon for folks watching. I did post our first poll question, and I'll give you some info on insight on the responses. Do you have any machines that could use some safety? We had a couple folks respond that they had machines that could use safety modernization. So that's good. People are out there looking at modernizing equipment. And then I did just post the new question considering safety services as to help with the risk assessment. So just to keep you up to date on that.
Thanks a lot. I guess I might be going through this a little fast. So if anybody needs to slow down, just raise a hand in there and get me to slow down a little bit if you need it. So getting back to where we start with this, hopefully everyone's familiar with the free ProposalWorks tool from Rockwell. If not, please feel free to contact any of our account managers, customer service reps, or specialists. We'll be glad to set you up with that. And again, there's a link that will be in the download at the end here. On the home page of ProposalWorks, we'll get in here and select the tool icon. When you select that, it'll open up a series of tools, and there's a lot in here that you'll be able to use. For today's purposes, we're just talking about the safety lifecycle, but also another option would be to select Safety Automation Builder alone, or the Safety Lifecycle Toolkit, which also, sorry about that, got carried away here. Greater error on my part. The Safety Lifecycle Toolkit, which also includes the Safety Automation Builder. When we open up the Safety Automation Builder, you'll be able to begin a project. And begin a project, you'll name the project, put in a description of your project, and then any specific notes you might have for that project. So when you do that, in this particular case, we're going to call this a demonstration and put in a description of the project if you need it. And again, like you said, any specific notes. You can lay out a background and a couple other things that you can do. I'm not getting into all of the details, but some of the important points here. You'll be able to use and there are some included sample machines, or you can import a picture or drawing of your own machine as a JPEG, a PNG, or a GIF. In this particular case, we're just going to use a demonstration of a simple machine. So then you need to answer some important questions. And they all need to be answered in the affirmative, or you can't continue. We talked about a risk assessment. Have you performed one? If the answer is no, then you're done. We can't go along any further. But once you say yes, then it'll say, have you written a functional safety spec? And if you're not sure what those specs are, you click on the question icon there, and it'll open up a little table that walks you through selecting those specifications to pick a level. And then again, the next one is determine your performance level. And again, if you're not sure, click on that, and there's some procedures to walk you through selecting that as well. So then once you've done that, you can select your layout. You'll be able to select and locate zones. In this case, we've identified 2 zones. You'll be able to insert a control panel, and then you'll want to identify your hazards. And when you select hazards, it'll bring up a whole list of small icons for most of the hazards that are machine related. The caution signs that you see there to the left, almost all of the ones that you could think of are identified. Once you select those, you can drag and drop, resize over onto your machine so you know what they are. Then when you get down to access points, you'll want to select your guarding. Fixed guarding, which you see there as a solid line, movable guard as a broken dotted line. So here we've identified our solid guards, our fixed guards around the edge with the solid line. And then we're going to add a movable guard at one spot through the dotted line. Once you've done that, you'll be able to identify your access points. In this case, the loading position. Once you, as soon as you do that, you'll open another box, which will allow you to identify and add more information to that particular area. In this case, we're going to label it access point 1, the loading area, and then what the type of function is. We want a safety related stop function. We want to, the triggering event will be, we want to break a light curtain beam, and the reaction would be to stop all mechanical movement in zone 1. And then the safe state, of course, would be to remove all power sources from zone 1. Once you've done that, you come down here in order to make sure everything's taken care of within the specs and within the requirements of the code, operations per hour, hours per day, and then days per year, which is obviously adjustable for whether it's a 24 operation, 7 days a week, or you're just working 8 to 5, however you do it. Once you've identified that and done that, you'll be able to select input logic and output devices. Once you click on that, it'll bring up for your input devices. You have your choice, whether you just want to use safety switches, presence sensing, or some kind of other operator interface. Once you select in this case, we're going to select presence sensing. We're going to pick a light curtain. We have choices here as well, but in this case, we picked a light curtain type 4. That will open up another block that allows you what type of light curtain you want to select. In this case, we picked Guard Shield Safe 4. Well, when you click on that, it's going to open up our product configurator, which is another component within ProposalWorks. And you can see here, once you open light curtains, the Safe 4 life curtain, you have some things that you have to select to make sure that they're going to give you the component that you want. The protected height, the resolution, but it'll also allow you to walk you through selecting cord sets or even accessories such as mounting brackets and things like that. Once all your devices are selected, pop-up will tell you if you meet the system standards you previously selected, or if you need to modify something. In this particular case, you'll notice this box plopped up here, and it is to inform us that we didn't put in an e-stop somewhere. So you can go back, add your e-stop, and then continue, make your selection for your e-stop like you did your light curtain, all of the components that are affiliated. And then once you complete that, get back to this screen again, SISTEMA will pop up, and then open to validate that the components reach the standards that you selected. I'm just going to do a real quick introduction of what SISTEMA is to make it a little easier to understand. Basically, a German governmental organization called BGIA created a downloadable software called SISTEMA. So I guess in the simplest of terms, you could think of BGIA as an equivalent to OSHA here in the States. It's a very well-respected institute that also serves as a certification house. We'll be having a deeper dive into SISTEMA in a later seminar, and you'll get more information on that. But I think the big takeaway here for this particular seminar, the big takeaway is that SISTEMA basically simplifies all the calculations of the safety functions. It can be used by machine builders, system designers, as well as end users who need to comply with the different standards and PL calculation process. So this is just a real quick recap of how Automation Builder works. In step one, you get a basic project info, name, description, import your machine layout. Then you'll do your system layout with hazards, guards, access points, safety zones, and control panels. And then we'll do a hardware selection, defining your safety functions and safety devices for each function. We'll do your circuit evaluation. SAB creates a SISTEMA project file of all the safety functions. Evaluates your performance level of each circuit and creates a report. It'll also help you generate a bill of material with pricing info. In order to help you through some of these other things is through your system selection. Again, if you remember, we just selected a very general tool, basic, say a machine. And then we wanted to select a function, for instance, a light curtain or whatever. So Rockwell's developed a safety function library, and currently there's over 100 applications that are in there. They can be used to help design common reusable safety functions. These document sets just walk the user through the safety lifecycle from the risk assessment through verification and validation plan. To give you an idea of what's in the safety function library, each safety function would include the safety function description, requirement specs, functional description of the operation, bill of materials, electrical drawings, and SISTEMA files themselves. Just to give you, and again, to give you just an example of some of the safety functions that are listed, you can see here emergency stop, light curtains, two-hand controls, guard locking applications, zero speed safety functions, and they're done up as not only guard logic through a PLC program, but also as just a simple safety relay application, depending on how complex your machine or your application is. This is the useful links that we talked about. And I just want to do a quick rundown. The first thing is the Safety Automation Builder demo video. This will take you right through. You'll see in a lot more detail. A lot of the screenshots that I used came out of that video. It walks you through very, very carefully with a lot of detail, adding color to your zones, adding and labeling your access points and things like that. A link to a safety functions documents, which we just kind of went over. And then there's a return on investment tool that kind of that walks you through and explains if you make this consideration, what can you expect from your investment in the improvements that you made to your machine. The SafeBook 5 that we talked about is included here also for a download. And then your ProposalWorks download, which we again talked about. So in future seminars, I said we're going to have an introduction to SISTEMA. Then there's a Safety Automation Builder with interface with SISTEMA, and there's some other safety seminars that are in the works, which you'll be notified of in our usual communications from our marketing department. And with that, I want to, as I said earlier, we want to make sure you get all your questions answered. So feel free to contact your account manager or any of our automation specialists. We'll be glad to meet with you and help you in determining a plan to make your machinery, facility, and people as safe as possible.